Welcome back, everybody. Today I am starting a 4-week horror writing workshop. I'm excited. I found a class online through the Forever Workshop taught by this exciting young queer writer named Kayla Kumani Upadhyaya. This course is about how to write horror stories, specifically short stories. Flash fiction is the approach of the class. If you're new to the channel, my name's Merritt. My background's in screenwriting. I wrote a series for Audible starring Stephanie Hsu, but now short fiction is the name of the game. So glad you're here. In terms of week 1 and setting this up, Kayla talks about how one goal of the workshop is to empower the students to generate a lot of ideas. One thing that resonates for me as a writer are prompts, very clear goals to try to execute, and I'm excited because I think this little class is going to be full of them. The week 1 readings are 2 stories, which I'll share as I read them. The first part of the class is to read those stories, and then she has some questions about them to engender thinking around what makes good horror writing. So I'm going to do that with you. I'm going to read these stories myself, tell you what they're about, and then tell you some of the things that I'm thinking about in relation to those questions, what I'm learning, my own brainstorms about what horror is, what horror can be. I want to share all that. The next thing is a writing exercise. Tease here is that it's called Welcome to the Wonderful World of Blank. I think this has to do with rule building in regards to horror, the rules of your monsters and so on. And the first step of the exercise is to think of a favorite movie or show of any genre. So I'm not going to read the rest of it right now because she wants me to land on those, but I'm going to walk you through all this. If you want to get a pen and pencil out, I'm going to put the link to this in the show notes, and you can read these stories as well, and we can jam. I just read the 2 stories. They're called Strip Mall Triptych by K. Ming Chang and The Strangler's Hotel by Casey Mead Brewer. I liked them. They were both very short, which was great because I was able to distill the critical lessons around world building and rule building really efficiently. One thing that I think I can take away as a writer from these 2 specific stories in regards to this question of world building is how you define haunted. Making sure you have an answer to that question, even if it's not spelled out in the story, having an understanding of, in this world, haunted means this, or in this world, people can perceive these supernatural things, whereas these supernatural things are just happening and affecting them. For example, in The Strangler's Hotel, the character in this story, Zoe, is intimately aware of all the things going on in the haunted house. She knows the ghost, they're on speaking terms. And so what kind of access do you give your characters? That story really inverts the traditional haunted house story, where usually a haunted house is affecting people inside the house and they're trying to understand what is it that's encroaching on them. In this story, the character was in league with the house. And so what the story shows me is that you can play with that trope of what means haunted or what doesn't mean haunted, but it has to be consistent. So the next piece of this is an exercise that I want to do and see what happens, and then I'll share with you what my experience of it is. And the exercise is think of a favorite movie or show, it can be any genre, set a timer, and write down the first 7 to 10 nouns that come to mind when you think of that movie or show. I started a horror writing workshop, like an exercise that then will kind of seg into a story. Welcome back, everybody. It is late and I don't like overhead lighting, so we're going for this vibe. I went through that exercise I described, and this is what I came up with. For the work that I put down that I liked, I put Pirates of the Caribbean, which might sound a little surprising if you know me and my taste, but I just love that character that Johnny Depp created. And so it asks you to come up with 10 nouns that you think of from that movie right off the dome. This is what I came up with. Goofy pirates, cannonballs, princess, island, curses, blacksmith shop, gangplank, cave of treasure, jail cell. You pick one of those things and you insert it into the phrase, the wonderful world of X. So what I did was curses. That is the one I selected out of that list. The Wonderful World of Curses. And the setup here now is that you have a theme park, an imaginary theme park called The Wonderful World of whatever it is that you did. And the next part of the exercise is to write 10 to 15 park rules for this imaginary amusement park. Just literally imagine you're walking up into this park and you see a big list of rules. Of the rules, some of them she recommends should be surreal or fantastic. For example, in my world, only the uncursed can enter. If you enter, you must leave with a curse. And then you add regular rules too that might exist in the real world, like no shoes, no shirts, no service. And so you make a list of 10 to 15 rules, then you start your story. So for this exercise, the story starts with the following sentence: "Welcome to the wonderful world of curses." And the POV of the story is someone who works at the park. And the exercise is you tell a story from the point of view of someone who works at the park. My experience doing this exercise was exciting because I quickly deviated from that. I didn't really love that as a first sentence of a story. And so I started a totally different direction, but I stuck with this world building strategy of like, I'm going to write a story about a place where you can go get curses. These are rules. It turns out that it's a shop in Mississippi. If you drive by, it looks like it's selling cherries, but to those who know, you can go and buy a curse there. And I used the same rules that I set up in my list of 10 to 15, but I didn't put it in an amusement park. I put it in this little shack, and good things happened. So it was a great writing day. It was a great opportunity to learn about specificity, rules, the value of constraints, playing in the sandbox. Sometimes it's easier to play in a specific sandbox because all the little toys are right in front of you. Whereas if you go to the park and you have to choose between myriad different things to do, it's harder. So it was a reminder of the value of constraints. And I am going to continue taking this class, and I'll continue vlogging about it. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you subscribe and come back. I won't be as in-depth about the exercise out of respect for the intellectual property involved. I just want to do a big shout out and thanks to Kayla and to her work. I found another workshop that she's doing about writing queer horror, which I think I'm already going to sign up for. So I'm excited. Good night, everyone.